Hey, welcome to the Tenfold AI podcast, MarketWatch edition. I'm so excited to have my friend Tara on today. Super stoked. So usually this podcast is Matt and I talking shop about AI and kind of with the goal of helping business owners avoid shiny object syndrome in AI, specifically AI and marketing, kind of those two things hand in hand. But a few weeks ago, I thought it would be really cool to talk to marketers who are in the trenches in the space right now, serving clients in whatever way, shape, or form their business is kind of positioned to do. We talk a little bit about AI with marketers, but more so just marketers in the age of AI. And you might do nothing with AI today. It's totally fine. We're just keeping a pulse on the marketing community. So Tara, you actually are a super special guest to us and with ProMode because you introduced me to Matt. Like you are the bridge that really formed ProMode, which I think is really cool. Because you've known Matt for a really long time, right?
Yes. Yeah. Matt and I go way back. College days. His wife's one of my best friends too. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I love it. That's just kind of, I don't know, like a testament of good kind of creative networking. I think when you introduced us, you didn't have, and I didn't have, surely, any thoughts of like, oh, these people are going to start a business together.
Right.
It was just like, hey, you're on a journey looking for answers along these lines of like sales and AI and marketing agencies. And you'd kind of heard some of the same buzzwords from me in terms of goals and experience. And you're like, yeah, I think you guys should meet. But like, kudos to you for just like throwing, two humans together to see what would happen. Because sometimes really cool shit happens, which is
I
awesome.
agree. I mean, when I see two rock stars in the field, I'm like, they got to meet. These two people have to meet. So I'm
I love
excited
that.
that it got to where it is and promote and excited to be here talking with you.
Yeah, well, I think that that is a good example of like your helpfulness, your selflessness. Like you serve and you've done that for years and years in a marketing agency environment, serving clients and leading client services, like in the true sense of the word, which is amazing. So I want to kind of rewind with you and talk about Tara's marketing origin story a little bit. We're all different. Some of us knew when we were kids, like I just really like drawing logos and starting
Right.
businesses. For me, it was, I loved the business startup process as a little kid. Like I would draw flyers and describe services, house cleaning in the neighborhood or babysitting. Like I wanted a name for the business. I wanted a logo for the business. I wanted to describe services. I didn't want to do any of the things. I wanted to market it and sell it.
Yep.
And then I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, brother, sister, neighbors,
Yeah.
go service these accounts
Uh-huh.
that I've just sold. And to me, that was just so natural. So did you know from a young age, like, I love marketing, or was it something you've kind of stumbled into and realized you had a knack for it, or what's your,
I wish it was some magical story that I could just whip out. But
we can make
but
one
funny,
up.
yeah. I mean, I do remember having this now that you bring up like businesses when you're a kid, I did love making those friendship bracelets. And I'll
Okay.
tell you what, it was called Nothing But Knots, and it was wonderful,
Of course
of
it was.
course. And then we sold out. A lady bought all of them. We're like, oh, shoot, I guess we're done there. But
Going out
no,
of
I mean,
business.
going out of business. But I think it's a culmination of my experiences with school at a small liberal arts school where they kind of, make sure you test the waters and try different courses, classes. And, I think it was just friends that were in communication, love the teachers. And I think the class or campaigns where you really bring all of this the culmination of the marketing degree is, you have to get through campaigns of putting together, an actual campaign for a potential client and you pitch it and you work together and the collaboration. And I think, thinking about my new business now, like all the three things, like connecting, collaborating, and creating, those have always been at the core. And I think I just happened to fall into liking the classes, the people, instructors, and it just kind of took shape from there. And then got into an internship, and, and then an agency. Fell into and applied for an agency right out of school, and it just kind of took over.
I love that. I can tell if I was in a class and had a class project assignment, I would want you on my team all day long.
Yeah, we were ready to. I think we had some motivation to get the projects done, so we'd go have some more fun. But yes, I think we always had a great time. So I think that kind of kept me going, and
Yeah.
I was excited to see what was next.
Yeah. So you may or may not have a quick answer for this, but I'm going to ask anyway. If
Yeah.
you didn't go into marketing, like
Gosh,
if that path didn't, kind of present itself to you, what do you think you would have gone into?
my gosh. I mean, if I if I was better at soccer, I would like to stick with soccer. But I always dreamt about being like a motivational speaker.
Mm.
Am I great at speaking? No. Would I be scared shitless? Yes. But thinking about Tony Robbins back in the day, like, oh, that,
Mm-hmm.
with all his big features, just selling it to people.
Yeah.
But
That's very cool. Okay, nice. So your story is interesting. You worked in a marketing agency for a long time. Most recently, and kind of to, fast forward to present day Tara, you exited from an agency after a really long time there, and you were leading account services. So if anyone's listening and doesn't know, like, what is a marketing agency structure like? What is an account services director, whatever. So elaborate on this as much as you'd like. You're kind of the person at the top of all of the account managers who are managing clients on a weekly, monthly basis. So agency has a bunch of accounts and clients, and those account managers service them and act as kind of strategist, project manager, client communicator, and then you're managing them and overseeing the accounts of the agency, right?
correct. Yeah. We're the
Yeah.
advocate, right, for the client. We're the advocate then for the agency, the communication arm between the actual divisions of, the digital creative shop. And so, you're managing within to make sure the projects are getting completed with the strategy and goal in mind, deadlines, budgets, and all those fun things. And also making sure the other groups are producing, to meet their deadline for the whole project. So yeah,
Yeah, it's a lot. It's like I don't know, like a maestro, and there's a lot of organization involved in that role. It's kind of like part COO, part customer service manager.
yeah,
Like
yeah.
it's
Therapy. There's like a little therapy
for
arm in there.
sure. Yeah, it's a lot of human soft skills involved, but then also the like it's a very disciplined role because you are managing to the budget of the client, to the resources of the agency, protecting margins. There's a lot that goes into it. And, if an agency owner has a great account services manager, he's got a great agency. If he does not have a great or she does not have a great account services director, he's in an uphill battle.
It's a
So
crucial, and it's a pressure
for sure.
cooker.
Oh my gosh, it for sure
But
is.
exhilarating.
Yeah. So there's kind of two
Yeah.
directions I want to go in this
Mm-hmm.
that feels kind of natural
Right.
in this moment. One is what you're doing now and kind of unpacking that a little bit. And then the other is what is your feeling of the future of agencies since you are so intimately aware of the structure of marketing agencies, how they work. And you and I can nerd out about that whole thing for ages. And I'm sure the vast majority of people would have like no care for a lot of it, but I think we can make it land. But first, so you're now the co-founder of your own business, which is
Right.
amazing, called Brand Built Collective. So tell us a little bit about that.
Gosh, I think it's a culmination, and again, reflecting on, you know, trying to figure out what that next chapter was for myself and thinking about all the things that I love, marketing, connecting, creating, collaborating. Um, And being, I've been in the B2B space with building, construction, design. So that's kind of where, all the my knowledge is currently with what I've been doing. So, you know, putting all that together and creating this company. And essentially, we are taking custom home building and turning it into an opportunity to develop content, develop opportunities for networking, marketing. And as the name says, collectively all coming together, all the brands, because that's what happens when we build a home, takes a lot of brands and people to make that happen. But essentially coming all together and sharing those resources, sharing those opportunities to collaborate, elevating brands, promoting brands, having a production crew there to capture the content. And then also having experience, like creating events and opportunities for that end consumer to come to that come to the structure, the home, and experience the products because it's very tangible.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and just kind of having fun along the way. So I've absolutely loved marketing and I love the industry. And, there's a lot of great industries and I know I'm biased, but just so many hardworking individuals and brands that live within this, um, realm. And I know resources are strapped because they're out doing the thing. So
Mm-hmm.
I just thought it'd be interesting to kind of pull it all together, collectively help each other. And then, yeah, so that's, I think that,
Yeah,
yeah, just bringing them all together.
I love it.
So
Had you heard of this business model before you spun it up? Because
there's,
I had
there's,
not.
yeah, there's definitely elements, of PR opportunities. Obviously, everybody knows HGTV opportunities, going to cool influencer brand events. And then there is, in the International Builder Show, this trade show, it's called the New American Home, and just kind of putting all these different elements together, but then also creating smaller opportunities, not as such a large scale, especially for the local Kansas City market, to say, hey, how could we recreate some of this and
Totally.
really get you return on your investment rather than
Yeah.
donating your product or discounting it for obviously services and then not seeing the return. And that really rubbed me the wrong way as a marketer of like, you're putting your hard earned money, your efforts, you got to see a return.
Yeah.
That's what I get
Well,
excited about.
so it's kind of like you've taken this, for lack of a better term, like Hollywood, like, hey, Hollywood. Like you said, HGTV, like beautifully showcasing projects and thereby products that are involved in those projects, but you've brought it to a very accessible point for these companies in their own backyard so that they don't need to hire a PR firm and go build a connection with HGTV and try to negotiate. I've been involved in very few of these, but I have seen it, that world a little bit. And you're right. At the end of the day, the business is shelling out a lot. Like it's a lot of skin off their back. It's usually an operational deviation. So they will have to go do a project that they wouldn't otherwise do for free or at cost, in order to get a sponsorship or, a brand opportunity. And then, like you said, at the end of the day, they're like, I don't even know if it did anything for us.
Right.
So you're saying, yeah, don't deviate from what you're doing. You're already doing this project. Great. I'm going to negotiate with the owner of the property, and correct me if I'm wrong, to get the permission to do some filming, to do some content creation, and then put your brand at the forefront of this, bring people into the space
Right.
so that you're creating this like multi-dimensional marketing opportunity that you otherwise would not have had. And yes, it's going to cost you something, but it's going to make a whole lot more sense, the cost and the ROI at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah, if you think about also, each project will present itself differently of telling what, that brand is. Each project will be its own kind of mini brand where we will make sure that those products align. If it's either, a historical renovation or a new modern home that's, chock full of technology and sustainability. And then we go out to those, those partners that would be a good fit and pitch the idea. And there's different ways that we can work with them to offset those costs, donations, discounts. But in theory, I mean, but for that, year long, 15, 18 months, there's going to be, that investment's going to be coverage for a good portion, either with content that you'll be getting, press that will be pitching, connections with just the people in the build. We work with associations if you're looking for educational opportunities to then bring people into the home while it's under construction. There's just so many different ways to slice and dice to make it worth your while. So that's what gets
Yeah.
me excited, is the opportunity of what can we do? How can we explore, create, which makes sense for you because we've got this platform that's open to us.
Yeah. Well, it's like you're applying the kind of concept of reusing content or reworking content, which
Mm-hmm.
is something that marketers within agencies have been talking to clients about for years. It's like, hey, if you're going to the trouble of ideating for a blog or for a social campaign, let's think of all the other ways we can leverage that same
Right,
content.
right.
This podcast is a great example, right? Like, we take this podcast, this can become a transcript, we can create blog content from it, we could create social postings, a social post schedule from it, email campaigns. Like, there's a lot of different things you can do with one idea or one piece of content. And so you're saying, I think you're even kind of like backtracking that more to be more client focused, because clients aren't thinking in terms of content. Change the word client to business owners, right? Business owners, brands are not thinking in terms of like, how do I reuse my content? They're thinking of their current project that they're working on. So you're saying, how do you capitalize on your existing work in all possible ways?
Mm-hmm.
And you're doing things that are not operationally easy. Like, you're not building websites with AI. Like, you're talking about connecting real humans to real opportunities. You're talking about bringing in lots of different resources for photography, videography, activating that to the web. Like, there's a lot of moving parts involved in this, which means, you're bearing that inconvenience, which we all do in one way, shape, or
Yeah,
form in business. But
right.
yeah, I think it's super cool. Is there anything so you're new in this journey? You're like a few months
Correct.
in,
Right, right.
you've picked up steam pretty quickly. Like, you had a lot of great relationships and you understand the flow of business in these spaces because you've served these either, you know, exact industries or industries very similar to them for a long time. Is there anything so far as a new business girly
Hmm.
that has been surprising? What's the biggest positive surprise and the biggest, like, oh shit, surprise?
Okay. That was really good questions. I think positive surprise is if you're passionate about something and you really see a vision and you trust like the process and in yourself, like it's amazing how you can get other people on board and excited as well to see and want to be a part of it. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
realize how just being excited for something that you believe in and then someone else's business and see how that can improve. And, you know, I didn't realize how like infectious that is. And it's energizing for me. That's what I live on.
I think it's because you got a little Tony Robbins in you. You got a little motivational speaker in there
Can you
hoorahing
can you just
people
imagine if I
into stuff.
stood next to Tony Robbins? Like, do you think I would even come up?
Yeah, Tara needs a step stool to shake people's hands.
I'm small but mighty.
Small but mighty. She's a
Yeah, a little bite
firecracker.
size. Yeah, so fun size.
Fun size. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah,
That's
I think
very cool.
a positive surprise would be that, and then a negative would be it's amazing how fast your your insecurity of wait a like trying to pull it all together can start creeping in and really dampering all that excitement and data and belief of what's happening. So I think not only like obviously just bringing something to light is that you've got to also have outside perspective and someone else that you can kind of chat through all this with of, whoa, you're moving forward. You're so close into it where you can't see the forest for the trees. So stay the course, believe in what you believe in for a reason. You've got data, and then try to mitigate that negative talk, and you just keep moving forward. I don't know
Yeah.
until
There's so
until
much there.
proof, but yeah, I think those are the biggest things with the business itself.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
marketing and AI, that's different. But I think those are the biggest ones. I think because it's just so back and forth right now that it's so real that's what was resonating and or coming to mind.
Yeah, I think it's so common when you're someone who's a high performer, you've been appreciated and an integral part of a company, and then you go start your own thing. There's a lot of self-doubt and there's a lot of angles to that and reasons for that. Head trash and just questioning self-worth and all that. And then there's also, I think it's important we have to remember like we can't compare what we're doing today to the last year of our employment, like comparing, well, we had all our shit together there in this
Right.
one tiny aspect. We didn't in all these other aspects, but like bookkeeping was never an issue because we had all that sorted, or we had someone for this, or we had systems and processes in place. And it's like, yeah, well, that company was like 15 years old, and also they were deeply in debt, or they had a staff of 50 people. Like, of course, they had their poop in a group more
I've
than
heard
I'm
that.
going to have on day
Yeah.
one,
Right.
but I think that's just part of growing. Like we have an 18-year-old who just graduated from high school, and we've been kind of slowly in a fun, half teasing, half like, no, but seriously listen way, informing her and prepping her for like real life, and like the cost of real life. And like last night, she was saying something. She's very sweet. Great girl, very smart, hardworking, but she's 18. She's a kid. And she kind of joked about us giving her a gratuity for something. Like she had grabbed a Diet Coke for me at
Yeah.
McDonald's
Oh,
and
tell
brought
me
it
more.
home. And
Yes.
she's like, "Where's my gratuity?" And I'm like, "Where's my rent?" And then giving her a bit of a very lighthearted lecture about the cost of life. And,
Right.
we even had her pull up Chat GPT and, what's the basic expenses if you were to move out on your own, which she does not want to do. And
That
that's
might have
totally
that
fine.
might have backfired. Oh, okay, you don't mind. I was like, that could have backfired on you, not
Right.
moving
But
out.
she's having this like, oh my God, it costs this much. I have to pay for that and that and that. And it's like, how am I ever going to afford this? And it's like, well, she's comparing her reality to our reality. And it's
Right.
like, that's not fair. We're 20 years down the road or more. And it's similar in business. It's like, on one hand, we have to keep our foot on the gas pedal. We have to push forward and require a lot of ourselves so that we can grow. But then there's also a place for like cutting ourselves a break, or like, yeah, I don't have an empire yet. I just frickin' started. Do you have any of that? I don't know. Do you?
Yeah. I mean, even just shifting it specifically just around marketing, I'm a marketer at heart. I'm an enthusiast. I love it. But it's when now you're starting your own company, just thinking about all those different costs, no money necessarily coming in. You've got to pick and choose. I understand, right? Marketing. I've been telling people for, how many years about marketing. Like you've got to spend on, your website, but it's very interesting of like
Totally.
taking that shift, right? Of, knowing what you need versus you're only so many people thinking about small business, thinking about, your cash flow and what do I need now versus what, so even, transitioning, talking about marketing and then shifting to talk about AI, there's definitely ways that you need to evaluate and, what is your time worth versus who do you need to hire? How can you offset it with AI? Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot. And I every time I see somebody that I've, on the agency side, I've shifted, I was in account service, shifted to some business development for a year of like promoting these services. And I'm like, it's hard. I get it now. Like
Yeah.
on being on the other side, it's sometimes an act of God to try to figure out where do I turn to get something done if
Yeah.
I can't afford the agency world, right? Like, I love agencies, and I'll tell you what, if we were at a spot that I had cash right away, for sure, you handle it all. But that's not it's not realistic to where we are, where small businesses are, especially the world I play in is they're out doing the thing. Like they're trying to make sure that people are fed, that
Hmm.
that they're meeting deadlines. So I totally get it now of,
Yeah.
always the pushback. They get it, stressing them out when we talk about it. Marketing's a big old hairy beast for some people, and everybody's perspective on marketing and what that hairy beast looks like is so different. So,
Yeah. And how
I don't know.
important it is or isn't
Right.
varies wildly. That's a great point. Like, I think being a business owner makes you immediately, very quickly, a better marketer because of what you just described. You have a lot more, like, not even empathy, but like, you can commiserate on. You understand, if I spend 5 grand on this, it means I can't spend 5 grand on this. And this might be the thing that's going to keep my business in existence. Whereas this is going to, what, maybe bring me something in 6 months, maybe not. It's a big risk. And that's something I think Matt does really, really well. He doesn't consider himself a marketer. He's very good. Like he knows more about marketing than almost anyone I've worked with in a marketing context. Just because he has built so many businesses, he's been like deeply involved in every step of the process, including marketing, but he's very good about the budget allocation piece and running very, very lean, like way more than me and what I would have done.
Mm-hmm.
I want to buy every flashy tool and cool thing. Not saying I was trying to sign up for 10 grand a month agency engagements, but I wanted to put chips on the table. Like, let's invest in this business. And he's like, whoa, we're going to do a free trial. We're going to
Oh my
go
God, he's so
around.
good. Yeah, we all need a Matt. We all need a Matt in our corner.
Totally. Yeah. Right. He's like, oh, you're hungry. We're going to go to Costco and get the samples and call it good. Or like, do you remember the movie Curly Sue?
I think so, but
Do you remember that movie?
I mean, keep going. But
Well, the
my
guy,
recalls to movies are bad.
he's got the kid with the curly hair, and he's like down on his luck, doesn't have a place to live, and uh, meets this like wealthy woman, career woman, unlikely duo, right? And he wants to take her on a date, and she's like, "You have no money." And he like takes her out and like sneaks into the movie theater and finds like all these creative ways to have like a free night on the town. That's kind of how Matt starts a business.
It's great. We could all take a chapter out of his book on that. But yeah, you have to. I don't know. I mean, that's coming from a marketer that, in everyone. I think it's so funny when people say, or we're like, oh, he's not a marketer or whatever. It's like I think we need to deconstruct when we say marketer. Like I think that's why we've created such this concept of marketing, at least my experience of like that people don't want to touch it because it's gotten kind of that's marketing. I don't do marketing, or we don't do that, or I don't think about marketing. Like, which you are. You're thinking,
Sure.
you're also just commenting about your brand itself and what you value. That is a part of it. So I think that's why, and I could go down a rabbit hole there of like people not wanting to just touch marketing in general because they're not a marketer, or it's a digital, or it's their social media girl that handles it. It's like, no, I mean, it really kind of gets you buttoned up with what your strategy is, your game plan, your 5 year plan, like, so
Yeah,
it's way more than just marketing.
it is. And I feel for businesses who and business owners who are seeking marketing advice and have for a long time, because I think there's a kind of business owner and they're awesome. I'm imagining like the B2B industrial, construction and manufacturing and people who are wicked good at what they do. They keep this country running. They employ hundreds of people, thousands of people. Marketing is often the last thing on their mind because they've gotten so good at something that not very many people are willing to do or can do, that business really does come to them. And they're great with people. They're great with managing people and making business decisions. And then they go to find marketing advice and they call an agency or they talk to someone at a networking event. And because they have not really paid much attention to this world of marketing, they think one marketer is the same as the next marketer.
Mm-hmm.
Marketing agency, marketing agency. I can take advice from either or both of these people and end up in a better state. And I'm not saying that they should become super knowledgeable about marketing, and I'm not saying that these marketers are doing anything wrong. I'm just saying there is a disconnect of information gatherers and information givers in this whole process. Because if you go to a marketer and say, I need marketing help, well, there's a lot of questions you should ask first to find out if that person is the right person to be giving you advice. Are you familiar with my business model?
Mm-hmm.
I'm a manufacturer, I'm an OEM, so I'm a B2B2B
Mm-hmm.
business.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of a sudden, how important social media marketing is to you, what the percentage of ad spend should be to your revenue, like every single factor changes because of your business model alone, right? If you're talking to a marketer who's like heavy in e-commerce and primarily runs ads, they're a marketer. They know nothing about your business model or what tactics you should be using. How much of your budget should go to trade shows versus, digital marketing, right? Like there's just a lot of nuance in this and a lot of
Mm-hmm.
experiences, journeys in marketing that can make you a deep expert in one thing, one tactic, one industry, one business model, whatever, which can also make you really not very knowledgeable at all about other, industries and business models, right?
Yeah. Oh, I see it all the time. I mean,
Yeah.
shame on marketers or, I mean, I know a lot of it's not like malicious, but it's asking a lot of questions. And, if you're an OEM and all you can understand right now in the digital space is organic social and you only have a limited budget, then you seek after the only thing that you know, and that and then all of a sudden you think they're going to provide you a strategic game plan or marketing plan for your business, and now you're disappointed and you think you're getting taken advantage of.
Yeah.
She does so it's this
Right.
odd distrust then
It
with
is.
with marketing, and then it's like this vicious circle, like, oh, that's why I didn't want to focus on marketing. I'm like, wait, we just
You're
went
so right.
we just went down a little bit of a bad path. We can auto correct and get you to where you need to be, but there's so many different stories I've heard.
That's a good point. And that's why I started the business before ProMode was the marketing agent, trying to create a better fit scenario, not just for the client, so that the client could get what they actually need. So I would talk to the client completely agnostic as to what solution they chose. Like what's your business model? What are your goals? What's your budget? Let's
Mm-hmm.
unpack that. And then I would say, okay, it looks like you are going to be heavy on ads and you need conversions and you've got the budget for it. So here's what we need to find. And I've got some thoughts on what channels you're likely going to be on or should be on for your business model. So let's go find an agency resource who is great at running ads on those channels.
Right.
Novel idea.
Right.
Because if you just
Yeah.
stroll into any other marketing
Right.
agency, they are naturally going to fit you with a solution they can best deliver, which may or may not be the top thing that you need that's going to move you forward the fastest. So that was kind of my mission there. but it was also for the good of the agency. Because you know from agency life, having a bad fit client is expensive on the agency. It burns out the team. It doesn't do anything for the reputation of the agency because that client isn't going to go refer you to somebody or
Mm.
give a rave review online. In fact, they can really damage your agency. And I see negative reviews for agencies all the time because people, I think, especially in B2B and maybe even especially in marketing, are more likely to give a negative review than a positive review.
Yeah, I think so. I think that's true, and I think that's with anything too. I mean, you kind of take for granted what's working, and you just go on with your your life. But if something's put a halt to that, we're
Yeah.
going to let people know that that
Well,
was not good.
yeah, and I've heard of clients who are very happy with their agency who kind of want to keep it hush hush, you
Yes.
know?
Yeah, I mean that makes sense too.
Like they might tell their network
Right.
that they know for a fact are not competitors,
Right.
but I'm not going to go let my competition know who my secret weapon is. That's a extension of my team. And when clients really love an agency, they'll talk like that. They're an extension of my team. Well, guess what?
Yeah.
You're not going to go, you know, submit your team to being poached.
Right.
I don't
Here's
know.
my best
It may
salesperson. Here.
right. She's the greatest salesperson ever. She closes this much and yeah, you're going to be careful about that message.
Yeah. And also I get from both sides too if you stick with an agency that you don't like because the onboarding from the agency side, when you onboard, now you've got this cash flow coming in from this client. You spent all this time. It's like business owners really liking that, the dollar amount. And it's hard to sometimes overlook, ooh, but it also is, creating low morale.
Yep.
Point of contact, man, is a real, you know, tricky one. But then on like also on the other side of it, of the client hiring an agency, man, you've invested a lot of time and energy and resources and you just kind of deal with it, which is not great either.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're always unhappy and then you're paying for a service. I mean, so, I get that on the agency side. It's, really vetting and, even having, like you were saying, the company you had previously is, having that outside perspective to help navigate that is genius.
Yeah. Well, I stopped doing it.
Yeah, I know. Well, you're on. I mean, that was great, but you're on to bigger and better.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
I
great.
abandoned that business model because
It's a hard one.
it's a hard one. And I looked around and I was like, there's not a lot of good agencies out there.
It's fair. It's
And
fair.
I don't mean good as in like the people aren't good, there's not good talent in the agencies. I mean like the business is not doing well. The margins are not healthy. There's too many bad fit clients within the agency that if even if I brought them someone that they convinced me would be a great fit, I'm like, where are they going to fit into your workflow? You're too busy scope creeping and chasing your tail with all these bad fit clients that this client who is within the skill set of your team is not going to get the service that they need and are paying for.
It's fair. Yeah.
So, and just a little side quest, I fully believe, and maybe this is my background and the lens I look through, I think so much of it is a sales problem. Like bad fit clients are a sales problem. Because if you're an agency owner and you cannot afford to say no to a prospect, so if someone finds you on Google and they call you and, hey, I mean, I heard the wildest shit when I was at the agency because, we were a full service agency, agnostic
All right.
to industry, which is a really common position agencies like to put themselves because they want to be wide open. Like, come talk to us. Are you an e-commerce brand? Are you a startup? Are you a B2B? Are you whatever?
Yeah.
And you just be as vague as possible in your description of what you do that you can attract anyone. That is terrible. That is
Yeah.
awful. And it attracts the wildest companies that have no business hiring an agency.
Right.
Agencies are prone to position themselves that way, especially when they don't have a solid sales structure. And over time, like we developed, prospecting practices and ICP, but still the randos would come in through the website, through a referral that was also a bad fit, perhaps, whatever. And we would find ourselves working with bad fit clients because if you have very few resources dedicated to your own sales and marketing, if you aren't clear about who you are, what you do, and who you serve, you're gonna like, you're not in a position to capture the best business and you can't afford to say no.
I agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think not having a solid sales process takes a huge toll on agencies and eats at their margins. And yeah, this is something I'm talking to agency owners a lot about right now. It's amazing how many of them don't get it.
Yeah, I think anybody that's so close to what you're doing, even if it's your expertise, like it's hard to separate yourself from that and grapple with instead of looking at the fit, we're turning down money. But in reality, if you're doing a lot worse to the agency, diluting your expertise to, like stretching your people too thin,
Right.
watering down a thing. So, I mean, I get that, like, shoot, we're turning down money, but no, in reality, we're just waiting for the bigger and better opportunity that it's going to be better fit.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to be,
Right. And you should, I mean, if you're waiting, you're also not doing it right. Like, I can
yeah,
understand that. Like, I
right.
wouldn't say, no, Mr. Client, I'm not going to serve you because I'm waiting for someone better to come. You know,
Yeah,
no, it's,
I
I
know.
am aggressively seeking
Right,
my next best client because I know who they are and I'm communicating with them. Marketing,
right,
right?
right. Yeah,
Having a sales and marketing structure, which is exactly what we advise clients to do. But agencies often fail to do that for themselves, and if you are confident that you have sales KPIs, I know for a fact if I reach out to this many people, if I schedule this many sales calls,
right,
it will
right.
result in this many ideal clients. Like you can develop a formula for that. If you are confident in your system, in your formula, then saying no to a bad fit client is a no-brainer
Right. Right.
because it would merely take you off your mission
Mhm.
to take on that client. So it's nope, and then head down, work your process, close your deals,
Right.
and move on profitably. And yeah, it's
So
very
I'm
hard, I realize.
Yeah. No, and I think but I'm excited to hear how I know we can talk about agencies forever, but how ProMode's being received by agencies because, obviously I'm outside of the agency world now, but I'm like, if I had ProMode as how we've had to shift, especially as a small agency, there's account service people now pulling double duty of creating content, writing content, taking over some of that copywriting and, responsibilities and projects. But I'm just like, it would be amazing. Time saver for sure.
Yeah, it's interesting. We had a call, actually you were on that call last week with, I don't know, 20 agency owners, and it was our first time really unpacking Pro Mode, and we didn't do a full demo. Like we were mostly kind of laying the foundation for here's some things to consider about AI. It's not all created equal. We need to level up in how we're serving clients with AI, or we risk losing those clients because of AI, because the quality isn't great or the results are not there.
Hmm.
Anyway, I wasn't quite sure what to expect from that. I kind of held it with an open hand. I was like, yeah, we'll talk
Right.
to these people, see what happens. As we do have a licensing program now where an agency owner could license ProMode. We would support the product. They would continue serving the client, but increase their margins substantially while also improving client quality and output and saving a ton of time. So it's a net positive in every direction I can see. But yeah, this was our first time really kind of opening the conversation to agency owners. And the response was primarily deer in the headlights. Like, huh? And I don't know what's deeper behind that. I don't know if they were thinking this is ridiculous. I don't believe this. I don't see this. These people are full of shit. or if it was, I'm terrified and I don't want any of these other agency owners to know how terrified I am.
Right.
I have no
I'm
idea.
sure it's I'm sure it's all the above.
Perhaps. I mean, I think we showed that we understand agencies. We understand where their margins are. We understand where their margins are not. And I don't think agency owners are used to being talked to that way.
It's fair. Yeah. And you're coming in, you don't know. I mean, also, you don't want to insult any of them. Where are they coming in with understanding of AI? So I mean, it's like, do we don't want to insult them by like trying to explain AI, but there's that also of like, where's the foundation to lay about what AI is, and then show, your angle of how beneficial it'd be for them. So it's kind of
Yeah.
an uphill.
Yeah. Well, I hope it's not insulting to explain AI. I mean, I don't know why they would know a lot about AI, you
Right.
know?
No, it's fair.
Why
Yeah.
would they? Why should they? Like they're deeply involved in client work. Like I understand the R&D time that agencies have, and it's not a lot. It's like we're going to hop on a demo, learn about a
Right.
product.
That's so true.
If they can sell us, then we're sold. If they can't, then we're not.
For
Like
sure.
I remember, I think it was you, and I hope that this is okay to say. It might have been someone else talking about adopting HubSpot for, stuff
We definitely
for
talked about
clients,
HubSpot.
and
Oh yeah.
stuff like that fails all the time. Because you're like, oh, we didn't have the depth of understanding that we needed to actually deploy this. And now we're kind of caught with our pants down. That kind of stuff happens all the time because there isn't time to vet out and learn. Like you're learning on your clients, you're guinea pigging your clients all the time. Not you, but every agency I've ever seen, um, especially ones that work in multiple tactics, right? Like I had a call with an agency owner several months ago. I was trying to learn about them. It might have been more than like a year ago. And I said, well, what are your core services? What do you do all the time? Like trying to get to know you so I know who to bring to you for a client fit. They show me this PDF of like 100 tactics, like sales enablement, cold outbound email, organic social strategy. I don't know. Literally every marketing buzzword I've ever heard
Right.
was on
Right.
this PDF. And I was like, how many employees do you have? And she's like, 12. I'm like, you guys are doing 150 tactics every day. I do not believe it. You have 12 people who know how to do all this stuff. Well, I mean, some of this is, stuff that we've done once, we've done a couple of times. We think we could do it if it came in the door. And I was like, hold on. That's not what I'm asking. Like, I'm not your client. I am someone who's trying to help you.
Right.
Tell me what your P&L breakdown is. Your revenue dollars percentage wise, what's the top 80% of your revenue? Oh, it's SEO and ads, PPC and SEO. Okay, cool. Now show
Right.
me your PPC and SEO ad client success stories. What
Right.
industries are they in? What's their ROI? Now we're getting into the real of
Right.
it. This is what you do really
Right.
well. Just
It's yeah.
freaking say that.
I know, but it's hard, as marketers too. Like we figure things out. I mean, so it's hard also to say no, we don't do that. I mean, also it's like, it doesn't look bad if we can't do that, but in reality, it's just wow them with what you can do, and then win the business. I mean, start
Yeah.
small and
Start
then
with what you know you can do well,
grow
for
it.
sure.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of
Yeah.
sense. Because then, if you have the tolerance from the client and they're collaborating with you
Right.
and you're honest with them, hey, we've never done this, and actually it's a pretty new tactic as far as we know. We think it could work for you. Here's how that would go. Are you down with giving it a shot? And they're like, well, you're already performing well in these other things. Yeah, let's give it a shot. Like that's a good relationship. But no, I mean, I think we've got, I don't know, 10 agency owners or channel network people for lack of a better word, who are very interested in licensing because they get it. Either they have decided already that content marketing is a loss leader and that they're not going to service it and haven't been servicing it for a while. And they look at ProMode and they're like, we could add this, we could make margin on it, we could delight the client. This would be amazing. And for them, they would have never done a ChatGPT copy and paste strategy or a Jasper or whatever, because they did take the time to do some research and say, okay, this is going to produce bland, inaccurate content. I'm not going to win my client's favor, in doing this. So they've already opted not to do it. But where I think there's not clarity yet and we don't have traction yet is in the agency owner who still thinks they're going to survive by just using a $20 a month tool, copying and pasting content for the client. That might be mean of me, but I have to
Fair.
have some fuel.
No, I mean, that's fair. And it's just one shift from the regular process away. So it's change and they are using AI, but it's still validating their current process of how they're producing content and material and running through the shop. So it's easy to switch small things as you go, then totally you're kind of almost, not that you are, but in a way you're saying like, "Oh, this is wrong what we have." I don't know. I mean, I'm sure there's some change is hard, right? But
It is. And I think the biggest ask that we have that is probably the biggest challenge. I'm not 100% sure. It's more of a hypothesis because they're not giving me feedback. They're just like, huh? Uh-oh. Bye.
yeah,
That's basically how the conversations go. And I'm like, okay, dude, whatever. But I think the biggest gap that would need to be closed is in the client approval process, really the content delivery process. Because what we're suggesting is that the agency not only change the way they're creating content using ProMode instead of using their other AI processes plus humans. Yes, we want to change that. We want to professionalize that and systemize it and make it way better and way cooler and more profitable. But the other thing we want to do that is a challenge is we want the client to have access to their portal. We want the client to engage with their content within their portal, to log in, look at all their stuff, review it, make their small edits, approve it within the portal. And the agencies are like, whoa, I don't think so. Because we need to be submitting that content to them in the same way we've always done, because how else are they going to see value in us?
fair.
Why wouldn't they just go hire you to do ProMode and then we're obsolete? And we're like, that's scarcity mindset.
Right.
Stop it. No, because what I want okay, you're a perfect example for this. And I think like, this is so great. I want agencies to do more shit like what you're doing now for your clients and not for me. It's not about what I want, but like that's the kind of creative problem solving, real solutions, tangible stuff that is missing. If you were still at the agency and if you were having to do client work all day and use AI tools or however you were doing that, checking the bare basic boxes that now can by and large be done with AI quite well. If you were still doing that, you would not have the time or creative space mentally to do the cool shit you're doing.
Right.
Like that's what it's all about. It's not about you're obsolete. It's about now you get to be strategic and truly creative to that client. Because you say, yeah, your social, your email, your SEO, your
Right.
web content, that box is checked because we built you a custom AI solution. Here it is. We'll help you manage that. Big deal. And yeah, you're going to pay us to help you manage that. And it's very profitable for us as an agency for you to do that.
Mhm.
But then on top of that, and we're saving you money on all that stuff. So clients saving money, agencies making more money, clients getting more deliverables. Like every direction is a plus side by 10x, every single one. On top of that, you say, yeah, I'm not just going to reduce your cost though and keep you at this kind of basic package. Now we get to talk about cool shit. Now we get to talk about what if we did like a super creative TikTok strategy or did some cool association marketing, event stuff, human stuff,
Right.
right? Which I think for a lot of creative marketers, that's the kind of stuff that they went into marketing for in the first place.
I mean, I can't tell you how many conversations of just minutia of doing organic social about the biggest thing was just trying to get content from the client. I mean,
Sure.
it's like it does pay the bills, but it's like also it's like it's mundane and it's subjective and
Yep.
it's you spend a lot of effort and it takes a lot of time. Like it does the way the agency model is. You, if you're questioning the spend, it's real. Like it's because it touches so many hands within the
So many
agency
hands.
that and your neglect also of not getting in and looking and reviewing because you're putting it off tomorrow, well, you're also taking time and the agency is still trying to push it along. You're still getting charged. I mean, because
Well,
it is
sure.
what it is.
It's a system full of bloat.
Right.
And
Right.
both sides, client and agency, can benefit from the removal of that bloat.
Right.
Truly.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel like it at
Perfectly put.
first. It feels like to the agency, I'm going to be sacrificing something here. But what we're asking, and this might be a long journey of education and conversation and enlightenment on both sides, but what we're asking is for them to take a step back and look at this from a totally different angle. Instead of looking at it like, how many more hours can we sell to our client? Saying, how much more value can we give to our client? And how can AI empower that?
Right.
That's a part of it.
For
But
sure.
we've got to get out of this hours for dollars
Right.
mentality
Right.
on both sides.
Because if you're also in organic social, if you're meeting the retainer cost of that each monthly thing, you're not doing anything creative. You're not doing anything. You're getting excited that you can push content through and stay
Mm-hmm.
in budget. So like
Right.
it's a catch 22. It's like
Right.
if you want to do cool things, we had one of our clients take it in house, and we were kind of like, ooh, that was a service we did. That's a hit. But reality, it opened the door. Take it. They got the content on their phones. They're the experts. They had a specific voice, like the way they wanted to turn and burn. And then we opened the door for us to create programs, loyalty programs for contractors that really like you move the needle or think about their strategic approach to, maybe trade shows or how they're wanting to being introduced to architects or different, so then that gives, then like you were saying earlier, of it just now gives, you know, like agencies value of like, okay, now this is why we hired you. Not to like manage if you got the content or not, or if you don't like that way that the post was written or the emoji. Good grief.
Right.
You're paying for some strategy and it's higher dollar than, what you would get off. I mean, freelance. So use it for actual moving the needle forward.
Mm-hmm.
And some of these things that can be automated that are all, like I said, all subjective.
Yes, very subjective. And, I've heard agency clients complain about, especially since AI has become accessible, complain about, I'm paying $500 for a blog. I can just create a blog in ChatGPT. Why would I pay $500 for a blog to an agency? And it feels to many agency clients like the agency is just greedy and they're just rolling in money because they're charging so much for all this stuff. And it's like, they're not.
They're not.
They're 10 to 20% margins, maybe,
Right.
which might seem shocking, especially when you find out most of their staff is making under 60 grand a year.
Right.
And they're hiring very junior people. And, now a lot of people are working from home. And so they may not have office overhead. Like, so to the business owner who is probably running their own business very differently, probably more profitably than the agency, they're saying, I feel like I'm getting ripped off with $500 for a blog. And it's like, you're being charged that much because of the client approval process,
Yeah,
like
that's fair.
100%. Like, yeah, it took them. Sorry, my email logged out here and I needed
You're
it
good.
for something. Why did it do that? I hate when that happens. It might have taken them, I don't know, an hour, 2 hours to write that blog. So you say, wow, they're flush with cash,
Right.
making $500 an hour. Well, they're not, because then they're emailing that to you and you're adding revisions, and maybe you don't email them back for a week. And then that account
Right.
manager has to go into the workflow, project management system, and say that they did email you, and then remind themselves to email you again to get that content back. So there's so much time involved in even one person managing themselves to keep you on track as the client, that by the time that blog is approved, there could be 10 agency hours involved for one blog, you know, and And it's demoralizing for the agency to think of all of the
Uh-huh.
content that's just sitting in inboxes.
There's a lot.
Sometimes it's more than what was published.
Right. Well, and a lot of times, you're busy, I get it, and the client is just not happy with it. So they're gonna put it off, right? Like, so again, subjective. That all that content could be right, but it's the tone or it's something, it's like, so
Yeah.
it's sitting there not moving because you don't know, you don't want to even think about it again. You thought you've already given your inputs and it just sits. It's like,
It sits, and then if it's so far off, if it's not a few edits here and there, if it's like, okay, I'm doubting if this agency understands me.
right, right,
Now we need a strategy call. Now
right.
we might need to get the agency owner involved to save the
So true.
client. And so now we're talking about massive scope creep. We started with a blog,
Right,
right? We might be doing $3,500 a month of work for this client, a couple blogs and some SEO, maybe a little web work. That might be the retainer, but a couple months down the road, we could be finding ourselves in a situation where we're giving them more work for free, where we're doing
right,
strategy
right,
conversations, we're bringing higher agency leadership in for those conversations, all to save this client because we never understood them in the first place,
right. Yeah, of a blog.
to write a blog. But the way ProMode works, we don't know anything about our clients. Proudly. I mean, I know more about most business models just because I've worked with so many, but I don't take a ton of time to learn about laser manufacturing,
Right.
you know, but what we do is ingest everything they've ever written into a database. We know them, our system knows them exceedingly well. And so the first time content's coming out of ProMode into their portal, they're like, how did you do this? This is better content quality, more accurate, more on brand than anything we've ever seen come out of an agency.
Because who knows their product industry better than
Right.
the actual expert? So that you're constantly learning and feeding off it. I mean, there's no way that, yeah, I mean, the speed at which that happens, can't expect, if you do want to stay at a certain level at an agency, you can't pay a junior writer to learn that quickly on that industry,
No.
especially if they're having multiple industries that they're right.
Right. Yeah. And if they're a full service agency, they could have a client who makes cat food and a client who's making jet engines
Right.
and a client who's selling socks on Facebook. Like so many different, brands and brand voices and personas that you're marketing to. The deeper the technical aspects of that brand, the higher the likelihood for inaccuracy. And it's hard to delight those clients.
Sure.
So it's like, imagine if you take all that stuff out. Imagine if you never had a client say, this isn't accurate, this isn't on brand, this is not our strategy, and you never had to save a client deal because of quality of content or understanding of your market. Imagine if instead you got to spend all of your time thinking of how to go over the top for that client, to do creative, like cool R&D stuff, that's super profitable.
Right. My agency owner that I used to work for, he was always spot on. He was like, we literally do with our day-to-day clients, we literally do maybe one creative exercise or big thing, and then we just execute. So it's like,
Sure.
and I think there's definitely merit there of like consistency, an agency holding you accountable, doing the work, but there's other things that you could automate to make those higher margins or to not have the headaches. And a lot of it's that free form content writing and organic social that at least those are two sticking points that kind of gave the most headaches.
Right. Because it's frustrating when you've got clients who don't approve what you're doing, you're not moving the needle forward, like you're at a standstill and you're the marketer and you're thinking, I didn't even take any risks here. I was trying to make something super like
We were just
run of the mill, like,
talking about a new exterior cladding color. That's all we were doing here.
yeah, like, why is this the thing? This was supposed to be brand awareness, not, the biggest ad campaign. It's not a Super Bowl commercial.
Right.
But if the client doesn't see and feel that you fully understand what they're doing, it brings everything into question.
So true.
And it's very frustrating. So I am hopeful that agencies will grab hold of the opportunities that AI can deliver outside of the, low cost solutions that aren't cutting it. I think they will eventually. The question is, how long will it take and how many of them will still exist? Other agencies will do it. Other ProModes will come forth. Internal marketing teams are starting to get it, I think, certainly among our clients. Like, "Oh, I'm a marketing director. You mean I can use ProMode instead of hiring two full-time marketers that I would then have to manage, hire and train? I could probably negotiate a higher salary for myself if we use ProMode instead and have more time to do cool shit, which now means, hey, my future's looking pretty good."
Right.
All of those things are possible. And I'm like so deep in the sauce. I can hear myself talking sometimes and I'm like, God, I gotta get off it.
I know. I was telling someone the other day, I was like, I'm like a used car salesman, but I'm like super excited about it. And you
It's
ultimately,
gonna get worse, Tara.
God.
It's gonna get so much worse.
But it's the perspective you bring and the experience that you've had in that area, and you're just trying to help solve. Maybe they don't think that's their pain point or whatever, and that's but you see an answer that you're just trying to reinforce in a way, and I think figuring out how to bring it back to more of the like we were talking a while ago, like storytelling, like the reasons why, the emotional appeal that that they are truly feeling that pain point of like trying to go navigate the back to the back door. It's like
Yeah,
when you've got something that's super exciting that can solve problems, you want to just shout it to the rooftops, and then you kind of forget about how people operate, how people want to get
totally. Yeah. And I do have to put it in perspective sometime. Like, okay, we're not solving world peace here.
right,
I'm not solving cancer. I get it.
right.
But you're right. Like, when you do truly believe you have a better way and you think it can help people in this aspect, like, I can't solve all of your business problems for the agency owner or the pro mode user. I'm not going to solve everything for you. And I can't even tell you that there's not going to be any downside to AI. I don't know. Like, I'm just a chick in Kansas City who has a widget that I think's pretty cool, that I think people should try. But I think that's why it's really important to connect with other business owners, not just about business, but the mindset stuff and supporting one another, encouraging one another, because it can be pretty lonely. Like when you feel like you're carrying this banner day and night. Like I was up at 2 o'clock this morning reworking a pricing sheet because I wasn't happy with it. I could not sleep. It was on my mind. And I'm like, I've got to change that. And I'm sitting here and it's like, I wonder how many other business owners are doing the same thing,
Yeah.
you know?
But when you believe in something and you know it can help, I mean, it's hard to, it's hard to stay quiet and not think about it. And so that's exciting.
It is. It is. Well, I've had so much fun talking to you, Tara, and I always do. Um,
It's,
yeah, you're number two on our series. I talked to Taylor Mingola from Veritas Architecture last week. She's their in-house marketer, super brilliant young lady. Later this week, I'm talking to a fractional CMO. And do you know Corey Morris from Voltage?
I sure do. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm talking to him.
We missed paths, but he used to work in the agency that I,
Really?
so he's
I
great.
didn't know that.
Wonderful.
Actually, you may have come up in conversation with him at some point. I don't know. Probably. I was probably telling him how I met Matt and into
You'll
ProMode.
have a fruitful conversation with him. He's a wonderful human.
Yeah. Well, we're going to talk, and I'm guessing that that conversation will get pretty technical, which
Yeah.
I'm excited about because he's a huge like CO, PPC, deep analytics guy. So we're going to nerd out together, but it was really cool learning more about your business. I learn like 5% more every time you tell me, which is another good reminder to keep talking about it because people don't fully digest it the first time we hear it, even in a networking or friend context, you know? But yeah, thank you for being a friend of ProMode and Matt and I. But this is my little sign off that I like to do. This is the MarketWatch edition of Tenfold AI podcast, sponsored by ProMode, the first end-to-end B2B marketing engine powered by AI. Thank you, Tara, and we'll see you soon.
I hope so. Have a good one.
All right.